Gavin Matts here. Welcome to ShowbizMonkeys.com.
Around this town, I'm alright. Around this town, I'm alright. I mean, no consequence when you playing with the fire.
I just want to talk about the most recent thing that I saw you in, which was you made your late night debut on Conan not too long ago.
I mean, that was like a year-long process of me like knowing that I was going to do it. So it was kind of, I was just like, at some point I was just like, oh, this is never going to happen. And then I like moved to New York on August 26th from LA. I moved there. And then as soon as I landed, my manager was like, can you come back and tape it on Monday? And I was like, or tape it on Wednesday. And then so I had to fly back the next morning. And then I taped it on Wednesday, and then the show ran long. So they were like, is it okay if we air this in another 3 weeks? So it was just kind of like, you know, it was just like a crazy process. But I guess that's the more fun way to do it.
Yeah, flying across the country.
To just have this story where you're just like, yeah, you're like, I wish I wasn't even doing this at this point, you know?
But were you happy with the final result once it aired?
Yeah, it was like my set had been like approved, you know, so long ago that it was like, I wish I could have done different material, but like I wasn't even allowed to change my set. But, you know, it was kind of, I got to do a joke that like I had planned to do on late night since like I wrote that joke. So that was like nice. It was like, you know, it was like a life affirming thing where you're kind of like, am I good enough for this? And then you get the thing you've always wanted. There's like some interview of me, like, I don't know, like 2 years in being like saying I want to do Conan. So that was a nice thing that my mom found and sent me.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
And then you also did Conan Con recently too. Yeah.
So I think they just felt bad that they kept pushing my date. So they gave me the Conan Con. So they threw some other gigs my way too. So that was nice. But yeah, the people over at Team Coco have been good to me. So, I mean, hopefully that relationship continues because I love and I need money.
I mean, they might have felt bad. It also could have been just because you're funny.
Yeah, it could have been. But, you know, in my mind, it's never going to be because somebody thinks I'm funny. It's always going to be because of some weird, obscure reason.
Of course.
So you said you're in New York now. You were in LA before that. But, of course, you got your start in Vancouver. How long has it been since you actually started doing stand-up?
Since I've been doing, I mean, I started March 1st, 2014, so not very long by any means.
You know the specific date.
Yeah, the specific date. It's embedded in my brain. I'll never forget that night because of how bad it was.
Of course.
And then I moved to LA last year, and then, you know, I've been in New York just for like 2 months.
How has the New York scene been for you coming from, you know, Vancouver and LA, which obviously have very different vibes from each other, but also definitely from New York?
I think that, like, I mean, New York is kind of more my city, you know? It's just like, you know, walking and like, it just has this energy that's kind of similar to, you know, Vancouver in a way. I love New York. It's just the stand-up, you can do like 3 spots in a night and be tired and people will yell at you. It's just, you know, it keeps you on your toes. It's a more creative place. But I do love LA too. It's just like an isolating place. But I mean, they're all good for different reasons.
Right. But if you're trying to just grind it in stand-up, LA doesn't always seem like the best place for it.
No, it's not at all, unless you're like on an NBC sitcom, you know, and have millions of followers, which I do not have.
Not yet. I noticed you're doing something on Comedy Central from Bill Burr coming out soon.
Yeah. This that comes out in January. It's this like stand-up showcase that he handpicked 16 up-and-coming comics to be on his new stand-up show. So it's like a 5-minute set and an interview with him before the set. So yeah, I think that'll be a good thing. I'm excited about that. I think that shot in May. And I think that's like the best set I've done for like a taping. So
okay,
yeah, I think that set, like, yeah, it's like exactly. It was like new material. It's like who I am now, you know. But I'm excited for that one. That was such a fun experience, and he's a cool guy. He like picked me off my other Comedy Central set that I did in January that came out in March. It's up on YouTube. But yeah, he picked me off that set, and he was very nice to me. And he's going to throw me some dates. I get to open for him on his like new tour. So yeah, that's been a fun process.
Yeah, that's great. That'll be, I mean, doing the taping obviously is a good experience, but getting to do dates on the road with him would be, yeah, phenomenal.
Yeah, which is like, you know, he's the best if you're a guy, but if you're, you know what I mean? So if you're not a guy, you probably don't like him, and I understand.
Yeah, that's fair. That's good to notice that and acknowledge that.
Yeah, I mean, probably an unnecessary thing to acknowledge. I could have just not said anything, but
a given. But yeah.
Anyways, just trying to be aware.
Yeah. Another thing to acknowledge. I'm gonna kill it on this segue. Is that you are coming back to Canada?
Yes.
To do a string of shows.
I am.
Which is why we're chatting right now. You're doing a show in Winnipeg, then Edmonton, and then a bunch of shows around Vancouver.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you just wanted to talk a little bit about that tour and what you're looking forward to coming back to Canada for a little bit.
Well, I really wanted to come back to Winnipeg to do like the Park Theater, and you know, I mean, luckily, you know, they gave it to me, but it's a late show. There's another show before it, but I mean, like, I think there's like, you know, hopefully a lot of people will stay, and I'm running it's like a whole new hour because I'm working on getting the Comedy Central half hour. So
okay,
everything I'm working with is like new. Nobody's seen it. And yeah, I feel really good about the material, and then I'm kind of on the road before it, so it'll be pretty worked out by Winnipeg. And then, yeah, I get to do Winnipeg Park Theater, which is like, you know, was one of my favorite places that I ever performed at. And then I'm going to Edmonton for the first time and doing this small comedy box theater, the Grindstone. And then I'm back in Vancouver to do the Biltmore Cabaret with Just for Laughs, which is the home. I've never got to headline my own solo show like that. And they asked if I wanted to do it. So it's, you know, it's nice. It's like, feels like everything's going in the right direction. I just have to not bomb, you know?
I like how you have the comedy mind that at the end of it, you still are like, but I gotta not screw it up. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's why it's such an insane thing to do, is because it's the only thing you can control. So you don't do the one thing that you think you're good at. I mean, definitely each way. Yeah.
Right, but I mean, there's a reason you're booked for these things, and yeah,
totally. I'm excited. I know I'm funny, but it's also like,
yeah, you know,
the mental health struggle of stand-up, which is why everybody is talking about mental health in comedy right now. Because I'm pretty sure it's not good for you. Like, I have friends in finance, and they're just like happy, and I'm like, that must be great.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've probably interviewed, I don't know, a few dozen stand-ups over the years, and I can't think of one who was just like not always freaking out about either what was happening on stage or everything else in their life.
Yeah, I mean, if your life is in shambles, you're usually doing well on stage. And I would, if anybody is like, you know, being like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to go to Gavin's show. Like, I don't know if he's going to be funny. Just know that my life is completely in shambles right now. So I'm probably the funniest I've been.
There you go. That's the selling point right there.
Yeah.
That should get people into the theaters.
Yeah. That's how I tell people. I say, hey, my life is horrible right now, but you guys are going to have a good time.
Always caring about the audience.
Oh yeah, they're the only people that matter.
That part is true, actually. So that's good.
ShowbizMonkeys.com